Welcome back to the Williams Real Estate channel. Today we are discussing why you should invest in real estate like every wealthy person does. Real estate has made the most millionaires by far than any other asset class. And these are the main reasons. Number one, cash flow. Real estate will pay you every month, regardless if you are awake or asleep. It will continue to keep paying you every month through the rental income. Constant cash flow. And the cash flow over time continues to increase. Rents are always rising. So compound cash flow over time, regardless if you're working, if you're awake, if you're asleep, if you're on holidays, you'll get a check every month for the rental payment. Number two, appreciation. The property and the rent will continue over the long term to appreciate in value. Leverage. Number three, you can borrow money from the bank, borrow other people's money, and buy property and leverage up your capital base so you can get in with as little as 5%. Once you get a bit of a roll on, use 10s and 20s. You only need a small amount of capital relative to the asset value that you can control, and then you hold that in the market over the long term and you get compound growth off the back of the full asset value. So you can leverage up. It is the most recognized and most stable way of using leverage. If you are investing it into real estate, obviously you can leverage up stock portfolios and stuff like that, but that is high risk compared to leveraging up to buy hard assets like real estate. Inflation protection. So inflation continues to erode the buying power of the currency as governments print money. They just print money out of thin air, continue to keep pumping it into the economy. As an example, JobKeeper, JobSeeker, the dole payments, creating stimulus to fund projects, infrastructure projects. They can create money. And they do create money through quantitative easing. That is done at the reserve banks globally around the world. They not only control interest rates, but they also print money through quantitative easing. And that ultimately devalues the currency. You need more currency to buy the same stuff. And that currency ends up increasing asset values like real estate. So real estate will continue to increase in value, and the value of the debts that you use to buy the property continues to get devalued over time. So if you buy $1 million property as an example, every year, on average, property inflation will compound growth, the value by 7 to 8% per year. Sometimes 20% in the boom, sometimes 1 or 2 or 3% in the stagnant flat periods. Sometimes negative here and there, but on average, over the long term, you can bank on around 7 to 8% growth if you're buying in solid growth corridors. If you're buying right, if you're buying established real estate well under the intrinsic value, you can bank on a solid 7 to 8% growth. That same property inflation that increases the value over time continues to devalue the debt. So $1 million of debt in 2025 would be worth 100,000 in 15, 20 years time. Just like buying properties in the 80s for 100, 200,000, now they're worth millions of dollars. The inflation continued to increase the value of the property. They're still the same established homes, and the value of the currency is devalued. 100 grand in the 80s was big money. Now it's people buy cars with 100 grand. So using property is the best hedge against inflation, to protect your wealth for not only you but your generations to come. Tax breaks, you get depreciation, you get write-offs, you get no tax on borrowed money. So you can draw equity, you can live off that equity, you'll pay interest to the bank, but there's no tax. This is by no means financial advice, but this is what I do, this is my story. Buy real estate, refinance that real estate, use the equity to live off, just like using working capital in a business. Pay 5-6% interest to the bank, and that is how you can minimize paying tax without them paying 35-45% tax to the ATO. You can use the equity and borrow against your portfolio. Borrowed money is not taxed, so you can borrow off your future self. Sure, you got to pay 5-6% to the bank, but that's cheaper than 45% tax to the ATO. The money has to go somewhere. So that is a great way, great powerful strategy you can explore if you own properties. Control. You can control your real estate. Unlike the emotions of the stock market or the decisions made by a business, you can't control a business of what they're going to do. So if you own shares in a business, it can go up and down, very volatile, without having any control. But real estate, you have full control, especially if you own the whole site. You can turn over tenants, you can renovate, you can freshen them up, you can attract better tenants, you can charge more rent, you can increase the value of your real estate, you can refinance it, boost the yields to then borrow more money against the asset to reinvest and keep moving forward. It's all up to whatever you want to do. You may buy something, let it sit and forget, let it tick over. You may redevelop it. You've got full control over your assets compared to owning likes of stocks where you've got no control. Freedom. You can buy back your time. You can refinance equity out, draw the capital out, have multiple years of income banked to then buy back your time and then work on your own business, work on your fitness, spend time with your family and friends, get out in the water, do whatever you want to do. It will provide you the freedom and luxury to buy back your time, and you'll find that the most valuable thing that real estate will provide you is your time. And you can decide on how you spend your time and not be tied to a job and have to slave away for the rest of your life. It'll give you that freedom. Legacy. For not only yourself, but set up your family, children, for generations to come. Until next time, thanks for watching.